It's starting. Yeah, it is starting. So today, guys, for you, we have again our really special guest, badass witch designer, occultist, and journalist, Anima Noira. And today we will discuss the most taboo of all subjects, the secrets of education, voodoo, guys. And Nora will go into deep detail about her work with Loa, which she conducted a decade ago, and she was initiated by actual Haitian voodoo practitioner. So Nora, can you like just move your face so camera can take the part?
I don't know what cutout you're using. I don't see your screen, so I don't know where you want me to move. That's the thing.
So can I will like put screen sharing for a second so you know.
To
Actually, it's not screen sharing, it's my fucking. Yeah, I don't know how to screen share, but like
Yeah,
just
well, I don't know where I am in your cutout, so I'm in the middle almost. So
can you just like move a little bit right? Move your face a little bit right.
this way,
Yeah,
this
more. Yeah, this way. More. Yeah, more,
okay.
more. Okay, a little bit more. Just few centimeters. But like it was okay. It was okay. It was okay.
Uh,
Don't give a fuck. Like just like start. So how
okay.
you started doing Haitian voodoo? How you got into it? What's your
Yeah,
experience?
that's a strange story because it came to me in a very unexpected way. I did not seek it out. So I was about 21 years old and I was working as a part-time job assistant in this local witch store. I was like a cleaning lady assistant for her. At the time I was studying at a university, and I didn't have a whole lot of spiritual practice. See, at that time I was more on the intellectual side. Like, yeah, I was visiting pagan events and we did the rituals to honor the gods, but honestly it was more about like being a part of something, doing something cool. uh I did not expect what happened. So she did evoke some of the Loa, some of the Afro-Caribbean spirits in her practice, even though the main thing for her was like Dark Norse pantheon, the Wrecker. So it was a strange synthesis, drawing from different cultures that she practiced, and mostly doing magic for hire. And to my surprise, I started seeing things when I was at the store. I remember one particular moment when um, I didn't really witness the rituals that she did with the clients, but I could hear it. I could hear the rattling mm, of the ritual rattle. I could hear the music, um, and then I always came later to clean the residues. Candle remains, incense, uh, stuff. But one time, I remember this clear as daylight. I actually saw the spirits answering her call. Once she started rattling, I saw this black cat, like a leopard jaguar, just sprint through the window, through the room where I was located, into her ritual chamber. Like, I saw some spirit answer her call. But even after this experience, I didn't really make much of it. I was like, okay, well, yeah, spirits are answering her call. I still wasn't expecting what happened to me. So I had a dream about a month or two after this experience. The Loa, they came for me as well. I had this dream where I found myself in some kind of Caribbean uh, parade, like a fair, a carnival, a large procession of people, and I could feel the air was moist, it was wet. It felt so real, and I was never in that area before. You know, I maybe have seen some travel brochures, but that was about it. So I'm there in this carnival procession, and the Baron is there with me as well.
MD?
Yes, it was definitely. Well, it was Baron Criminal, I think, more of.
So it's
He
interesting.
he he
Never
looks like
thought
Saint
that-
Morris.
yeah,
He looks
never
like
thought
Saint
about this,
Morris.
but MD and Criminal are two of the lowest spirits I have enormous connection with.
Doesn't
So
surprise me because they are Saturnian, and that's sort of your home current.
yeah, yeah. But keep talking.
And he carries this plate with what I understand is the forbidden fruit of knowledge. And I'm not supposed to eat it, but I do it, of course, being the kind of person that I am. And then I turn and look back, and I'm in utter shock because I start seeing the reality of the spirit world. I start seeing everything with the second sight. And what shocks me is that most of what I think are humans behind the masks, they are not actually humans. You know, they are spirits, demons, animals, beasts. So I see that there's actually very few humans there. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And I can't take it back, you know, because I've opened my second sight. Taken part um, in this sacrament, this eating of the forbidden fruit of knowledge. So I panic, and then the scene changes, and I'm alone with Baron Criminal, who looks like a black man. Saint Maurice in European tradition is one of the few saints who is depicted as a black man. So that's how he showed to me, dressed in this Oriental garb, sort of like the biblical three kings. That's what he looks like to me. And we are inside of what appears to be like a voodoo ritual chamber. It's pretty dark there. It's warm. I'm on the floor, and he's leaning over me, and the whole atmosphere is it's very sexual. So I'm actually expecting, yeah, well, I guess he's gonna fuck me. That's kind of where it's leading up to. But that's not what happens. He starts pissing at me, and that's such a shocker to me. That's totally not what I'm expecting, that I shock myself back into my ordinary state of mind. The second sight is gone, you know, like through this weird ordeal, I'm shocked back into my regular consciousness, and I don't see the spirituality anymore. So after I had this dream, that was, I think it was summer 2009, kind of keeps coming up as a major point in my life. After this happened, I basically was dragged into what they told me a few months later, shamanic illness, because these phenomena, they wouldn't stop. Like, it got more intense. Not only I was seeing spirits, but they were coming to me, but like in a way that I was never used to. See, when you are a Western type of occultist or pagan, you're not really used to spirits invading your physical reality in this invasive way that the Loa do. Uh, I thought that I was legit going crazy, and perhaps I was, you know, perhaps I was, because my sense of reality has been pretty much torn apart. Um, I was having a lot of nighttime visitations. The Loa, ancestors, demons. At the time in my life, I'd wake at night often with like orgasmic spasms, like spasms in your uterus, like when you're giving birth or when you have a really bad menstruation. So I would wake up in this in this like pain, and it was totally subconscious. It was nothing that I could control. So then I reached out to the local Satanic grotto, the lodge, and they told me that, yeah, this is from like unchanneled frustration, and that I have to use copper wire and wrap it around my bed. So I did that, and it helped a bit. But overall, I think we're getting just more and more crazy. So I entered into contact with several of the Voodoo priests, shaman of slightly different traditions. One of them in particular became my personal uh, mentor, and I became a part of this loosely affiliated group of his students, initiates, who were pretty much spread out all over the world, mostly in the United States and in Europe. I've met some of them in person. I have never met him in person, but with the miracle that is modern technology, I became initiated in the current itself. I actually needed it desperately, because when the Loa come for you, they just come for you. And it's like, oh, all of this is happening, and now, like, what do I do? See, I was a 21-year-old white girl, from an intellectual Catholic background. I grew up in a big city in the middle of old civilization. All this voodoo stuff was very foreign to me, like as foreign as you can picture, and yet it happened. So it was a big shock, and it was hella uncomfortable, because they were everywhere. Uh, Even some of the local occultists who kind of experimented with voodoo, like doing some simplified spells here and there from Michel Berthiaud's Gnostic Voodoo workbook. That was a very obscure manuscript that was circulating around in my circles uh, back then. They found out pretty fast that these spirits answer, but they have like an invasive presence over their lives that was not comfortable for them. Like, they just take over. You just live in their reality. You share everything with them, and everything revolves around the spirits then. Um, Even more so when you become involved with other practitioners, because you become a part of this family, of the societe. And I mean, there's a lot of good that I could say about it. There is a lot of charitable spirit. Um, I've had people send me money who have never seen me, just because uh, I was a dirt poor college student at the time. I was struggling. So we all supported each other. It was touching. There is definitely this side of religion, of community, that is very benign. But in the end, it was too much religion for me, because you're basically asked to live this entire lifestyle where you can't even as much as fart without the spirits. Like, anything happens in your life, and all of your brothers and sisters, they're gonna start talking about how you need to appease your ancestors and bring this sacrifice and that offering and do this prayer and do this purification, that was kind of not what I was aiming for. So I abandoned it after a while, and I went for Western uh, style of demonology. And also, one thing that is kind of uh, troubling about Voodoo is that it tends to spread, like it really wants to spread through you to other people. It was like trying to take the country by a storm. I kid you not. My friends who are also involved in it locally, they all of a sudden would find themselves with a windfall of money, but that money was supposed to be used to make a public presentation, a conference about Haitian culture. and Voodoo. So the Loa can manifest a lot of stuff for you very easily, but it kind of feeds back into the current. It's not like you get this money and you can spend it on cocaine and hookers. No, the money appears only for the opportunity of spreading the current further. And I was having the same kind of experience. I constantly had people offering me money or offering to lend me money so that I could go for the physical initiation, which is a very costly thing. You can actually buy a house in Haiti for the kind of money they charge white Western people. I had a bunch of friends from European states who went there for initiation, and they all returned with huge doubts about the whole thing. Because what they saw was a lot of poverty, and people basically, well, if I'm to quote directly, my German friend said, alcohol is so expensive in Haiti that they have these ceremonies instead of alcohol. Like, this is how they get high to survive their conditions. And then a lot of us, of course, realize that there's a lot of financial exploitation going on, a lot of pyramid schemes, and some deeply held racist beliefs where the white man, the white woman is basically the cash cow. It's a very tribalist, very gang-like clan structure. The people who are a part of your clan, your society, they will always have your back. They will only engage in wars with others who are outside. So there was a lot. There was a lot going on.
But because you kind of finished your thought there, I need to say that there are really profound parallels between rural Wallachian/Serbian aspects of sorcery and voodoo. Because what you have described is literally how I describe Balkan sorcery.
Oh, absolutely. It is, I would say that it is universal, it is ancestral, and it belongs to us just as it belongs to the descendants of the slaves. That's a big point that I want to make today, that it's not foreign, it's not them, it's not exotic, actually it's us.
Here's the thing, you didn't understand what I said. So essentially, the reason for the poverty in Haiti is pretty clear to me. So those spirits are nature spirits, right? Those spirits are essentially the elevated divine elementals, the laws of nature, right?
Yes, you can
So
see that.
what would happen to the nature in Haiti if you give Haitians money? Of course, they will develop technology, and what would they do with that technology? Of course, they would destroy the Loa. They would
Oh,
destroy nature.
they have literally destroyed the island. It's so deforested that there is just it's just mud. There is no more forests there, and it's just it's such a cursed place.
Yeah, but you need to understand that, like, and how Haitian kind of, it's like an old style pagan religion. So actually, the priests know the things and they have the knowledge and they are well, but the people not so
Oh,
much.
absolutely. No, that's a valid point, and that was one thing that sort of dissuaded me from pursuing this path further, even though I was like, it would have been very easy for me to become like a priest. I have taken some rituals on distance by instructions, and it worked.
Yeah, but essentially, what I kind of need to say, because I have limited experience with Haitian voodoo. Me and Edward Morrow performed some experiments while we were still associated, and they were pretty effective. I got some of the information which I still use from time to time, but the thing is, now, that those entities, those two barons of death, Criminal and Samdi, them specifically, they are kind of extremely invasive and they keep returning over and over again.
Oh yes, they do.
And they essentially, I had a really heavy psychedelic trip, and during that psychedelic trip, what happened was crazy. So I will film a video about the entire thing. I never mentioned in a video that they were involved, but essentially they showed me enormous amount of stuff. So the first part of the trip was like I receiving answer to my questions which torture me. And then another part of the trip was like a detailed explanation, mostly by two of them, how the spiritual world operates.
Absolutely. Oh no, they will teach you. They will come to you in visions and dreams. Dreams are a very big thing. And they will commune with you, and some of these experiences can be fairly disturbing. I remember when the hurricane in New Orleans happened, I was being visited by Hecate Erzuli Mapian, and she was showing me, like, this is me, I am destroying the city. She told me beforehand. So that was like super trippy. They are absolutely forces of nature, ancient forces of nature, and they were venerated by our ancestors as well under different names.
Yeah. So essentially, like, I don't want to talk about myself. This is your interview. So, what you kind of experienced, and what are like the forbidden aspects of Haitian sorcery you got introduced to?
Well, voodoo, on just like every practice, has like a black magic part and a white magic part. Uh, it has this benign, wholesome side that is basically a religion of worship, and then there is a dark side that is very unwholesome. Uh, you know, like every pagan cult that survived the advent of Christianity and persecution, Voodoo also became more violent, more secretive, and just in general more dark. Because that's how history goes. When a cult is being persecuted, it needs to hide, it needs to enforce the rules, the spirits will demand greater sacrifice, and everything just gets darker and more violent. And the conditions of the slaves in the New World were unimaginably brutal. Like literally, slavery was not a cup of tea, was not a rose garden. We all know that, but think about it this way. Whenever the slave owners wanted to repress the idea of revolt, all they had to do was to tell the slaves, we're gonna sell you to Saint-Domingue, to Haiti, the island. And everybody would just drop any thought of rebellion because the way they were treated there was just so unimaginably brutal. And then they rebelled against the slave masters in the end, because a human spirit can only take so much oppression. And that's how some of the Loa were born. They were actually deified priests and historic heroes, and they were basically formed out of this energy of suffering, of martyrdom. These Loa, the dark Loa, they are the Loa are represented by images of Catholic saints, and the dark Loa are represented by the images of the martyrs. So there is always something bloody, something violent in those pictures, and that's exactly what they are. So you've got these congregations, the priests, the ceremonies, which are quite beautiful. There is like even a tradition of art So, this art is collectible, all these beautiful embroidered flags. They give charity to the poor. And then there is the secret initiatory cults that people engage in when they want something more, something that the religious side cannot give to them. Because as we all know, spirits will give you some things, but it has a limit. If you want to go over that limit, you need to transgress the social order. And that's where the dark cults come in, and they practice everything that you have heard of, that you can possibly imagine. They do kidnapping, they do human sacrifice, child sacrifice. Actually, the famous dictator, or rather infamous, Papadoc Duvalier, is well known and attested by foreign diplomats, ambassadors who were stationed there, that he was sacrificing children every Friday to the Baron. Because Friday is, like they have a calendar, just like we have our calendar, 7 days, which correspond to 7 astrological powers, which used to be the 7 Roman gods.
Friday night is the night where the power of the Baron is rising, because Saturday is tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, and it's that tradition is even still known among contemporary Satanists. My partner Kindra Ravenmoon used to hold the Devil's Coven at midnight on every Friday, turning to Saturday, the day of Saturn, the Sabbath. So these traditions are, they are pretty universal, and that type of sacrifice would actually be appropriate because the Baron, in his aspect of Baron Lacroix, he is the one who saves children and pregnant women. So, like all of these death deities, Morana comes to mind as well. They not only take life and decide who leaves, but they can also give your life back. They can resurrect, and they are petitioned in matters of infertility or sick children. They can overturn that. So, of course, they will accept children as sacrifice. They also practice animal torture. It's kind of funny, like people are trying to make it all out to be like so wholesome and so beautiful, and like, oh, we just sacrifice these goats in a kosher way and then they are eaten, and the animals don't suffer. Yes, like that is the white magic sacrifice, but the black magic sacrifice is absolutely still practiced there, I would say,
But
like more commonly than
well,
in other places.
yeah. But we need to point out that like this extreme black magic shit is about 10% of what is done. 90% is like white magic for the people, religion stuff.
I would disagree. I mean, yes, black magic in general is always fringe, but if there is one place in the world where it is not so fringe, that would be in Haiti. I don't think it's very difficult to run into it there.
But like, can you tell us some of your experiences with the spirits, like your personal take on spirits and entities and your own personal rights? We will not here disclose how any of the rights are done, because I doubt people would use it properly.
No, I don't think that can be replicated. You will be guided once you come into contact with these entities, or if you run into other practitioners. But these are not really rituals which are recorded or published. It's all very very personal. They will tell you what are they asking of you, and of course you will not be doing the same things they do there, because you can't even obtain certain traditional offerings, like like we don't have the same rum, we don't have the same food here. So you will have to either substitute it, or you will be guided by the Loa themselves to worship them in a different way. But they definitely want to occupy your living space. My altars have actually spread out into 3 rooms. So this is a type of practice that is heavy on keeping altars and keeping offerings. They actually want to have a physical space in your dwellings. It is not advisable to have it in your bedroom. Or like when you do, you will be sleeping with the spirits and you'll be waking up at night. You also need to leave like candles burning and stuff. So most people don't do it unless it is absolutely unavoidable. But in that case, like you actually live with a roommate or several roommates. You also can't put all the spirits on one altar because they have
Beefs.
they have different nature. And some
Yeah,
of these
I was warned. You cannot put Gede and Petro on the same altar, and you cannot put Radha.
you
You
could
can put
possibly
them.
get away with this, but you can't mix it up with the Radha spirits with see. So let me tell you something about the spirits. The Voodoo spirits are divided into nations and families.
Yeah.
Loa Radha, you could say that basically equals the white magic. They are cold, connected with the element of water and earth, and they could be described as what we traditionally think of as saints, saints and ancient holy deities. A lot of African ancestral spirits there. And then there is the Loa Petro, the hot spirits,
Yeah,
fiery.
yeah, they are spirits of the slave revolt.
Yes. And those are the saints who were martyrs. Some of these beings are actually identical with our demons. There is a huge overlap and mutual inspiration because Voodooisans actually did grab a hold of Western demonology and occultism and they incorporated it. Just like there's Umbanda and Kimbanda cults in Brazil, which can be traced to Grimoirum Verum, there is a Luciferian current that runs within Voodoo. It's a syncretic religion. It has absorbed many elements and it keeps absorbing them. It keeps evolving. It's a living tradition. They do recognize Lucifer as the king of the criminal underworld, for example. They call him King Lucifer, le roi Lucifer, and that's like somebody not to be messed with. Like, if you have his favor, then they recognize that you've got a powerful protection. But Lucifer himself is not really openly recognized by the Voodooisans, even though I think the secret societies do worship him and demons. They just they just like won't really talk about it.
So the Wudan is, from your experience, this large mix of African and
Catholic, demonic, nature spirits. You can trace some of these entities to ancient Greek and Egyptian gods. They're so ancient.
yeah, it's like hardcore. But like, can you tell? Because like this is something which is more or less kind of known, simple. People just don't want to talk about it. But can you tell us some of your personal experiences with the Loa, like some of the crazy stories?
Yeah, I had a few years of my life when I was getting repeated sexual communion with Tijan Petro, who was like the head of the Petro uh, pantheon. He's known by different names, and my personal understanding is that he's Mephistopheles, actually.
Yeah, I kind of worked with the Petro house, you know, twice. And they seem to be like, how to describe them? So they seem to be extremely wild, extremely fiery, extremely aggressive.
They are very much what I think they are, to a large degree, the same as our demons, in that they deliver things quickly, they ask quickly, they they act quickly, but they are not to be messed with, and they expect you to act speedily too. Like if you make a promise to them, you will be held accountable. Like you need to keep it, you know.
Yeah,
They're tense, they're crackling with energy, they're not calm or cool-headed, and these are spirits who experience the world as a battleground, being they're ready to fight and win, so they are great for protection. um Something else about them, so one of their symbols is a fork and a spoon, interestingly, and this is where the whole secretive coded nature of Voodoo comes into question, because it had to be practiced in extreme secrecy, so only those who knew what's actually going on. So the Haitian slaves, and later the peasants, they eat with their hands. They would not use cutlery. So the fork and the spoon are utensils that were used by the French colonialists, by the slave masters. So what it actually says is that the Petros spirits, they are the masters. It's this idea of mastery, of Luciferian royalty. Like we're not the slaves, we are the masters. So that's a very left-hand path sentiment expressed in there.
yeah, but like, can you describe? So Tijan Petro episode was interesting. Tijan Petro is actually a spirit. I mean, I summoned him once, but my problem with him is once you summon him, it's difficult to communicate. He seems to be difficult to articulate. You get what I am saying. It's like a so fiery and so primal thing that you cannot exactly figure out what's happening when he is there. You simply understand that everything is burning.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a very visceral experience. They don't really answer in the same ways as demon do, where you would like have a nice civilized conversation with them. They will come to you in dreams, or in a sexual way, or they'll just express themselves physically in your realm in very disturbing ways. I remember one day I was walking in the department store in the mall in Prague, and I was thinking about the Gede, and I was descending down the elevator. And I kid you not, at the bottom of the elevator was some kind of promotional event there, some kind of greeter who had a top hat like the Baron, and half of their face painted black and half of their face painted white. And they were even holding something that looked like a cane. And I was like, oh my God, did I just have a heart attack? Like, how probable is it that you would run into a person dressed in the traditional depiction of the Loa, and you're like lucid, sober, broad daylight? So they will take over your reality in ways that you may or may not find comfortable, because unlike our Western style of demonology, they can't be contained. They will not be contained to the altar or the ritual room or the times where you want to approach them. They'll just invade your life fully.
yeah,
So you will start seeing them. When I was on the public transport, there's this one other Petro spirit, Marinette, Anima
I know.
Sola. It's
Yeah,
this. It's the
yeah, I know.
burning. It's the burning woman in purgatory. The Catholic holy card. she would be one of my patrons, I guess, as well. And I was
How we
freaked.
are connected to the same spirit. Like those
Yeah.
are exact 4 spirits I worked with. Like exact
I'm not
4.
surprised. I'm not surprised, but
That's
she
how
was
cool. Like
freaking the fuck out of me. It was so difficult to acknowledge her, um, because she's very Lilithian. She's basically the avenger of women, and she is made out of the spirits of tortured witches. Like, think of the energy of what it is. Like, what did these women scream? What did they curse? So she is that, and she looks freaking horrifying. Uh, just like Lilith, she is depicted as a screeching owl, claws and stuff. One of her names actually says Marinette Boishesh is the one with the skeletal
Marinette of
or
Christ, yeah.
skinny arms. Skinny arms. And for me personally, just her depiction is fucking traumatizing because I've been skinny, slender my entire life, and whenever stuff goes wrong, and I get like PTSD or some stress, I start losing weight. So I kind of start becoming Marinette. And I hate it because I feel weak. I start being afraid of death, being afraid of going to hospital, this whole ancestral imagery of like people starve to death. It kicks in. So for me, just to have her around was like and what they're gonna do is that they will also possess people. They do this a lot, like even more than demons. Demons do it in a way that is kind of smooth, that is kind of acceptable. Like you will be aware that your friends are channeling something. Sometimes they will be aware of it as well. But with Voodoo, they just come through. They just come through, and you are sitting on the train, and suddenly the seat across you gets vacated, somebody leaves, and freaking Marinette comes and sits there. And she's a pale young woman, red hair, looks like a freaking corpse, skeletal, scary, and she is staring at you. Like you are staring at a deity embodiment, like right across of you, and you are in your daily waking life. You're not in ritual. You're in public. And in those moments, I was just like, can this please stop? Like, can this please stop? It didn't. It went on for 3 or 4 years. I actually, not only my reality was changing and they were coming through and possessing people, but I kind of changed as well. This dream about developing the second sight, it happened. I would be seeing people who are not present. I would be forgetting completely people's names and faces, even though I have known them for a long time. I would be seeing spirits instead of people. Uh, and this went on for a few years, actually. This went on for a few years. I did end up in a mental hospital, more like through circumstances. I kind of had a mental breakdown because of a destructive relationship. But it it just it just went on. And the thing is, like the shamanic illness, the initiation, it's a process that it's like not really consensual. Like, you give them a finger and they not only take your entire hand, they take your entire life and your soul. And I only sort of got it back because I abandoned Voodoo for demonology, which is kind of the same, just experienced differently. Then I abandoned it for a while, then it came back, and now it kind of came full circle. Now it's all back.
like I will tell you what like is my experience with Haitian law. So essentially, they tend to really quickly bring things. But I need to say that you and I kind of operate differently when crazy shit happens. So when crazy shit happens, I am excited, and I want more of that. Like I
Oh
don't
yeah,
get,
because you're a daredevil.
yeah, like, but like I understand because you are kind of wanting to have peaceful life for a while, and you feel vulnerable so many times, and so when such a crazy phenomena happens, you really feel a lot of fear. So I understand your sentiments. It's not easy to accept.
I was 21 years old, you know. I didn't even know like my past from this life or family secrets. I was kind of going on blind instincts, and I went way further than I expected to go. Marinette was in particularly obnoxious because of the ways she was like terrorizing me and she was like haunting me, terrorizing me, you know. It's not like a spirit is trying to get your attention by introducing themselves as a polite suitor. They just come and they terrorize the fuck out of you. Uh, because they want to be acknowledged. And I think that after I took the name Anima, Nora, kind of after Anima Sola, it calmed down because like I acknowledged them and the whole infernal current in a big way by taking on that name. So that's when it all uh, calmed down. But I had a period in my life where my clients, I mostly had female clients, they consisted of exclusively masochistic women, women who were raped, and women who had anorexia. Like I had so many of them coming to my office that I was like, okay, one more of these comes, I'm closing this place because I don't want to deal with this.
Here is the thing, like 80%. So I am Lilith guy, right? And
Yes.
Lilith is the demoness of vengeance.
She's
Like
very similar. They are like the same family of spirits.
80% of my clients, which are willing to pay serious money. So people who make my living are women who want to curse their exes.
See,
And
that's
like,
very Lilithian. That's very
yeah.
Lilithian.
Yeah, so essentially what I am saying is that this is a natural way of things. When you work with certain energy, everybody who resonates with that will
Yeah,
run like,
they will flock to you. They will flock into your life. For some reason, I had like a really strong affinity to kind of the worst spirits. Uh, you know, the horned ones, the devils, Bossu Diablo, Bakalubaka, the horned deities, and then Lenglesu, who is known as Bassa and Sanj, the bucket of blood, depicted as the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the blood mystery. He is literally a vampiric spirit. They are also called mystes or mysteries because they are more than spirits. They are actual laws of nature,
yeah,
forces of nature. Like Marinette is not just some priestess who led the Haitian revolt. She is all the souls of all the women who were like tortured as witches, you know. So they may have different names in different cultures. She's depicted as Saint Catherine, one of the most popular martyr saints in medieval Europe. And Saint Catherine was actually the patron of Charles IV, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, the most successful, most famous of the Czech kings. So then when you start reading the code and you see how they are present in Catholic imagery, in pagan religions, you realize that they're everywhere, that like Voodoo is actually the universal cult that is everywhere. They just take on different names for different people, you know. They were represented by the Catholic holy cards images because it had to be secret. The way they converted the slaves to Christianity was not like they took them to Bible school They didn't educate them, because they were slaves. They just baptized them in a mass group ritual, just sprinkled some holy water over them and told them, oh, now you are Christians, renounce your ancestral demons and gods. But those people were illiterate, and they still were calling on to their ancestral gods and spirits. So what they did is they identified the gods that they knew with the holy cards through secret codes. So, the Baron, the Lord of the Dead, he became Saint Gerard because Saint Gerard was a penitent. He practiced heavy penance, like self-flagellation and being locked in a cave, meditating in a cave with a skull. So that kind of mystical practice. So there is a skull depicted on the traditional holy card of Saint Gerard. So it's not actually what is important is that one detail. It's the skull. So that's how they could get away with it. They would hide the worship of their gods behind the worship of saints, and it all sort of merged together in very hilarious ways, because Saint Michael Archangel is depicted with a flaming sword, and he's like, punishing the wrongdoers, and he's overcoming Satan, throwing him into the pit of hell. So people in Latin America, they actually evoke the Eshu and the Loa using this picture to kill their enemies, which is not what we would do, right? Like, we don't really call Saint Michael to kill our enemies with a flaming sword, but that's how they see it, because this was the picture that was most that spoke to them, the most. So it's like, it's very pagan, kind of blasphemous, I would say, but many voodooists consider themselves to be good Christians. And some of them are black magicians, and they don't care about goodness at all.
Yeah, but maybe they are good Christians. We simply don't understand Christianity enough.
That's a great point as well.
Yeah, but essentially, like I'm interested, like, in just your experiences in rituals and what you think about all of that. My experience, if we talk about spirits, so my experience with Marinette is pretty weird. So she is known as Marinette of the Dry Hands. She always manifests to me like a burning figure of woman
Yes.
with like monstrous hands. But her heat is just at first abrasive. It's really abrasive and it burns. But after sometimes it becomes comfortable. And she is kind of responsible for making people paralyzed. And since there is that correspondence with my life, definitely, I kind of really enjoy the energy, in a sense.
Yes. Well, because see there. So let me talk about the head spirit, or what we call patrons, because that's a fairly important concept. When you are initiated in Voodoo, when you want to become a magician in this current, one of the main things is correctly identifying and coming into full communion with your head spirit, Mat Tet, which means master of your head. You can have secondary ones, but like the big one is called the master of your head. It's not really patron, vaguely. They are the measure and the type of your spiritual power. They embody the same thing as you embody. You are them, they are you. In Voodoo, spiritual power is basically inherent in life. You are born with it. You're either born with it or not, which is why the lineages are so important. You can't be made into a powerful priest or practitioner if your head spirit is not powerful. So for you to be aligned with Marinette and the Barons means that you need to activate these currents in you, and you can't really choose any other spirits. This is
Yeah,
what you were born with. This is what
yeah,
you need to work with, whether kind of you like it or not. And we've both had bad experience with Lilithia and Loa. It is difficult for me.
for me it's like kind of not difficult. I mean, it was difficult in the beginning, like when I just started working with laws, but to be kind of to tell you the truth, I have been telling this to people for years. But the torture you experienced with Loa is the same torture I experienced with Lilith.
Yeah, no, they are the same. Like after my experience last year, when I was being hounded and haunted by Lilith with the claws in her owl form, they are the same.
They
They
have the
are
same
the same.
methodology, yeah. They have the same methodologies, but the only thing I am interested in finding out regarding voodoo is like my method. I don't have any method to find out.
You
Some
see, there,
people,
but well, this is the thing, there is different mystical teachings about these essences that you are made of and how do you activate these essences, and different traditions have a different number of these essences. In Voodoo, which is very heterosexist, they will always initiate you with a spirit that is of the same gender as you are. So they correctly identified me with Erzuli Mapian, who is Hecate, roughly, who is the queen of hell. Like, that is her function. She's the consort of the king of hell. So that's what they would seek to make me into. Uh, because they believe that if you get the spirit who is not of your gender, that it will mess up your sexuality. And like, you can debate that. I mean, like, I would personally initiate you with Marinette or Lilith without a problem, but they would probably give you the Baron, because that's just how the tradition runs.
yeah, but I need to kind of know who it is. I need to find out who is the entity, because like what I found out is I did maybe, so let's count everything. If we count every single rite with the law I did, under the guidance of my ex-friend and under my own experiments, it's maybe 30 rituals, which is small for my count, which is small for me, but it's some experience. And it was pretty clear. So, first and foremost, my month of birth is November. I am born at November 6th. And the entire November is dedicated to the Gede house. It's
Yes.
technically a month of the dead. And so I tried to connect because Gede, Petro, and Lada are three biggest nations. There are also
Yes.
Senegalese and many other smaller nations, but three major ones are those. I found fucking complete inability to connect to the Radaloa. Like, it was always a failure. After failure, like nonsense. Like,
It's very difficult. This is the same as working with angels and demons. It's not impossible, but there is a good reason why you don't really see many practitioners going around who have those connections. Like, the deeper you go into the demonic and the infernal, the more difficult would it be for you to switch into that practice. Uh, because those spirits will not do certain things, like that you have to abide by different uh taboos, and we break taboos, so of course we are no longer welcome to come back there.
yeah, but like, can you explain, not explain, but say, what are your experiences? I mean, ritual experiences with the Gede, not dreams.
Well, the Gede, they are very chthonic, they are connected to the earth, so you need to put their altar on the floor. It's actually great to have. So I had a black marble desk, some kind of marble pile that my friend actually stole from a construction site. So I had it lying on the floor. So it emanated this coldness, it was cold black marble. If you can get something like that, they will love it. I was giving them, I had a special bottle of alcohol where I had to put in the broken needles, which is one of their favorite things, and 21 little peppers because they like hot stuff. I was actually giving them the traditional offering. They are a very grounding force and like supreme for maintaining physical health.
But also removing physical health. Yeah.
Of enemies, hopefully, or like, well, see, working with the cemetery, that's how they call it collectively, the cemetery. You better know what you're doing. I ran into this recently with Curtis Joseph and Orly Stewart, people who bring stuff home from the cemetery or who have skulls and bones and who get into this necromantic practice. They often witness their lives decay in horrible ways. Like this practice is among the most dangerous that you can partake in. You're inviting death into your life. So I was personally never called to expand on that. It's just not my current. I'm more about the dark fire than dark death and bones and skulls. And there are some very nasty curses, they are petitioned to take people out, to make them sick, to make it impossible for them to recover, to turn their vices and their addictions against them. What I was shown is that my path of initiation, this was actually a dream that one of my sisters had, a mambo. So they gave me the Queen of Hell as the head spirit. And they gave me this vision, this dream. I've been waiting for it to manifest for 15 years. And I've been told it's happening this year, actually, where I will receive my crown from Lucifer's hands in like an orgy. It was like an intensely sexual setup in a throne room. So, it's going to be a sexual initiation. And he already told me last year that it's coming this year and that he's gonna come to me and that I will have a very good time. I'll really enjoy my initiation. I'm like, finally something nice and not like throwing up in the bathroom and losing weight and going through hell. So I'm gonna inform you later this year after it happens.
So
15 years. 15 years I've been waiting for this.
I will probably not be involved.
No.
I almost certainly not be involved. But I am moving to America this year, probably. So
What? That's crazy. We all come together. Oh my God. Well, I hope that Dino will join us as well. I feel there is a strong pull for the Black Magicians to come together physically. It's actually weird that we haven't done it before, but like right now we are called to do it. I am moving in together, like plotting it right now, going to check out the place to move with other practitioners in a week. Fantastic.
But like, be careful because your last moving ins with another practitioners didn't end up so well. So I would be really cautious.
Well, look, I serve the Dark Lord, and that puts me in dangerous places and in dangerous situations. I always get out of it. I was still kind of paying for my bad deeds, so I wasn't given exactly the kind of protection that I like do have now. I was told that my punishment will be stopped. I was kind of given to men. But yeah, that's gonna end.
Yeah, so essentially, like, can you because this interview is like an hour long, so we need to wrap it up in half of an hour.
Yes.
Can you share some of your ritual experiences with Baron Criminal specifically?
I didn't really. The most potent experiences were not rituals. It was when they came to me out of their own. Like I would take care of the altars every day. You know, I would exchange the offerings. I would commune with them. But that's not when the most interesting stuff happens. He came to me as the Grim Reaper once when I was falling asleep. That they would come often when I would be falling asleep, and he showed me what it is like to die. He wanted me to know. So he tore up my soul from my body, and it was this intense upwards motion, this tearing apart sensation, as if you are like in an elevator and this elevator is going crazy fast, or as if you are in some kind of adrenaline sport kind of thing. And he wanted to show me this so that I'm not afraid when it comes. And it was so beautiful. Like it was orgasmic, is how I would describe it. So that's the biggest gift that I was given by Darren Criminal, aka the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. But how I kind of see him is like a Grim Reaper, but he's like a cannibalistic Grim Reaper.
Oh, he's he's yes, he is nasty. Those cults contain a lot of profanity, a lot of breaking taboos, and it's more powerful because the society is still traditional. Like for us, we have seen everything in the movies. For us, it doesn't carry the same charge, but for those people, it does. Like even just being homosexual is like still highly transgressive. So
Yeah,
that's how you would honor the
extremely
loot
transgressive
baron.
to
There
be
is
homosexual. But unfortunately, I am not a homosexual, so I cannot
so
enjoy this
you
type
you
of
cannot
red.
you cannot worship the Baron Lundi, the Baron Monday, the loot barons. I've actually heard legends that like these barons have been exiled from the Geda family because they were like so sexually inappropriate. So of course they have their own cult somewhere. They have their own worshippers. Those kinds of people that other practitioners avoid.
Yeah, but I don't know. I am, for whatever reason, regarding sexual transgressions, I don't know.
It's not your style. I know that's why I freaking hate it when people accuse you of molestation, because I'm like, see, if somebody told me that you robbed a graveyard, that you dug up somebody's skull, or that you sacrificed a person to gain some unholy knowledge, I would be like, yeah, sadly, it seems like Dimitri has gone off rails, but it's kind of like him. But I just can't see you raping a woman because I know that those are not your personal vices
Yeah,
or obsessions.
here is the thing. I don't like, for whatever reason, there are some things I don't mind when other people do shit, but there's a certain shit I am not simply attracted to doing. But regarding the barons, what I found with the barons in my 30 rituals with them, where I made substantial contact, is that fundamentally, uh, what is the main point of their energy is that Westerns, the reason why we cannot handle working with the barons. When I say we, I mean people from Western Europe. I am lucky enough to not be part of Western Europe by any stretch of imagination, so I don't have that trouble like
Yeah.
majority of people in the Western Europe. But the problem why majority of people from the West cannot practice voodoo is they don't understand what they are summoning. So for example, let's say you summon battle on some D. and you expect some form of a categorical Grim Reaper or categorical Lord of the Graveyard, but in
No,
reality,
he is so many other things,
yeah,
he's so
yeah,
much else.
yeah, but in reality, he's an extremely complex energy. At one side, you have extremely baneful rituals, which can blow your mind open. But another side is the death as revitalizing force of the universe.
Yes. And also as a sexual force,
Yeah.
it's death and sex.
Yeah. So essentially, when you work with him, you work with all of that.
And
And
he is
he's,
the one who gives you the second sight, That's why he is depicted with the glasses, you know.
yeah, yeah,
That's why he is called when the priests are being initiated, because you need the second sight, if you are to become a priest, then you are called to master the forces of both healing and decay, and nature and all that. They call three spirits for the priestly initiation.
yeah. But essentially, you know, I don't know. I would really like to become part of some community, online or offline, where I can learn Haitian voodoo properly. Because, like, as somebody who studies Balkan witchcraft from traditional perspective, as much as possible, I understand the difference between online concept of Balkan witchcraft and what is actually there. What is actually there in Balkan witchcraft has only slightly common things with what media knows about it. So
Oh yeah,
this,
this is definitely a tradition that is oral and
yeah,
that comes directly from spirits. There's very little written about it. Uh, yeah, very very little. I mean, there is 21 different barons, and I know like 10 of them. So there is so much of the tradition that you would need to, get into, and being initiated in a societe might not cut it, because, they have different levels of understanding themselves. So they don't all work with all spirits. There's dozens of Loa. Some of them work just the white cult, some of them will work the dark cult. Some of those people are probably not safe to be around, to learn from them. So,
yeah.
well, you're welcome to join us in Florida.
I will not be like in Florida. I will be like in Seattle, which is Washington State.
Wow,
But
that's where I came from, interestingly.
you kind of came from a bunch of places. You are like eternal traveler.
Yes.
You came like 10 locations just this year and 10 locations previous year, and you traveled all across Czechia too.
Yes.
So, and you also traveled all across Europe. I mean, look, like you maybe don't have a lot of monetary shit, but you have a bunch of experience.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. That's what I live for. That's what I call.
yeah, yeah. But like regarding all kinds of shit, I don't know. Like the only thing I learned truly about Haitian Loa is that magic works outside of the modern societal paradigms.
Absolutely.
Modern
It
society.
does. That's what they broke for me, was this whole paradigm. Like they were so different that it just took me somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, and like, do you still know some of those voodoo rituals from memory or not?
I I would have to recreate it. I don't have any notes. I have brushed shoulders with the law recently. They want me to get back to this practice, so we'll see. We'll see what comes out of it.
Yeah, so essentially, my original plan was to contact Marcus. So my original plan was because I have those spirits messing around in my life, and those are not spirits to be dismissed. They have to be addressed in a way. My original plan is to create with you a pamphlet on Slavic sorcery.
Oh, we
Then
shall do that.
and send it to Marcus, and then Marcus will in return possibly teach me some voodoo shit. Because I contributed intellectual property to his order through heavy research and ritual. But maybe, just maybe, because Marcus is like weird. Not weird, but he's pretty secretive person. Maybe I should try to search for those information elsewhere. But in general, my experience is that the Loa fundamentally operate pretty similarly to the Slavic spirits.
Yes, yeah, Slavic spirits are definitely like raw and primal natural gods. The Petroloa operates somewhat the same as demons, and the Radaloa are quite like the saints. The Gede are something else entirely.
Yeah, but like, I don't know how to say, but the Loa and the Slavic gods, they operate by the same logic. And
Yes.
that's why Marcus, as a Haitian practitioner, didn't had any problem approaching Slavic gods because he had correct mindset to work with Chernobog and to work with Murana. Because
I personally don't think that this is a question of ancestry, race, or even mindset. I think it all comes from past life initiations. Like if you have them, you still have them, and the spirits will recognize you, and the practitioners will recognize you. So it doesn't matter that he's a black man American. He was a Slav before, and I'm a white Slavic woman, but I was, I was some kind of badass black magician once. I haven't remembered, interestingly, but it must be the case. Otherwise, how would I even get into this in my early 20s?
yeah, so essentially, you know, can we talk about the crossroads?
Yes, there's a double spirit that guards the crossroads that is evoked every time you want to open the path to the spirits or close it safely. His solar aspect of the noon crossroads is Papa Legba, and for us, perhaps more importantly, his dark uh, aspect is Carrefour. Carrefour in French means literally crossroads. He's addressed as Maître Carrefour, master of the crossroads. So he's a spirit that is very much honored and feared. He might be the same as Eshualegua. Um, he is a trickster taken to the extreme. He's actually silent, calm, dead of the night. He's also associated with flame, and there is a lot of lore in Europe about witches going to crossroads. The cult of Hecate, bringing offerings there. The crossroads is the place where the world of man and spirit intersect. It's a very important place. And Metcalf walks the crossroads at night in the company of malevolent and dark spirits. He is their master and their gatekeeper. He unleashes them, or he can be petitioned to keep them far from you. He is the master black magician. Usually he's seen as kind of the spirit of last resort, because obviously black magic is the last resort. uh, Powerful, great, potentially dangerous, not to be summoned for petty bullshit. You need a good reason. He can reverse enemy works on them if you gain his favor. Um, there are no demons that he cannot command. Like, he is the key to the dark side. Um, I would not approach him if I wasn't crystal clear. He kind of likes me though. I think he might be my boyfriend's patron head spirit because they just get along so well. And he's been showing me signs lately.
Good.
Well, he's been approaching me by showing me his power over life and death, making people blind, making people drive the car into the tree in broad daylight, slowly, as if they didn't see the tree. So that was Carfu talking to me, showing me, his area if of power. He can break hexes, curses. That's what we were actually summoning him for. There is little that he cannot do. He's represented by Saint Andrew, the cross that Saint Andrew was crucified on, which is like a reverse cross. It's like a blasphemous cross. It's not the same that Christ had. He is sometimes also called the Baron Khafu, out of respect because he has access to uh, that whole night side. And see, there's some interesting lore about him. You don't almost think about him as a spirit or a god, even though you can see him as that kind of handsome young man that you meet on the crossroads. That's from American folklore. Like you meet the devil at the crossroads and he shows there as a handsome man and can make a deal and he will tune your guitar and you'll become a famous country musician. But he is the embodiment of the crossroads. He told me that he is actually the potential of reality. It's like this tearing apart the fabric of time and space. That's what he is, So it's a tremendous power, and you will experience some very, very paranormal phenomena if you work with Kalfu, if he approaches you. He's like a lonely spirit. He embodies the lonesome black magician. They say that Kalfu has no friends, that he only has acquaintances. He is not humane, he's not human. He embodies something that is decidedly inhuman. He's the power and depth and breadth of the most liminal spaces, like it's difficult to really explain these spirits or characterize them. You need to experience them. And there is also a sensation of being watched, like he's the silent stalker. He stays in the shadows, watches you, tracks you like a prey. He might be watching you for years before he approaches you. So yeah, that's the patron of the black magicians.
Yeah, and what are like the favorite offerings of Kalfu?
I don't remember. I haven't done them in a while.
Yeah. So like I am glad you finally found a good boyfriend and a really nice house and you have 4 rooms for the altars. So I can't.
Yeah, we are plotting a ritual chamber. I'm not sure if that's what I really want, but that's yeah, I think you'll see in a few months how this goes.
Oh, it will last long. Well, good for you then. I am really happy that I don't have to worry about what's happening with you anymore. It's good.
Yeah, no, I think that the Dark Lord is taking care of me this year as he promised.
Good. Really good. I'm really happy for you.
We
So
should stop recording. I don't know.
yeah, but like yeah, I am pretty glad that this interview was amazing. But one last question. Like Last question for this interview is, can you suggest any way of how to get to the spiritual crossroads for people?
Well, I would identify a physical crossroads where you would ritualistically go to approach the spirits. And this, you should spend some time thinking about it. This could be a place that is locally known. This could be actually a place where magicians go to. It could be a place of some significance, maybe something happened there. Um, it should be a place that is not very frequented. So, like, outside of human inhabitation in the woods. For practical reasons, you just like can't do voodoo on any kind of crossroads. You need to find the right one. So, proximity to the woods, cemeteries, kind of desolate places. That's where I would go to seek out those spirits, to introduce myself to them. Just go introduce yourself to them there, leave an offering, don't look back, and somebody might accompany you on your way back. And like I would do this before going to sleep so that they can visit you in dreams.
Yeah. So thank you for this interview. It was pretty fucking good and amazing, as you always are in those interviews, and I'll definitely call you again after
Yes.
a month.
Okay.
So
Take care.
yeah, so let me stop recording.